It's got glitz, it's got glamour, and it's a fabulous way to lose your money. In an industry that rakes in over $1 billion per year, 8 out of 10 shows are financial failures.
It's sort of like swim at your own risk.
But still, the bright lights in this casino lure investors to an elusive jackpot, the smash hit.
Broadway is an all-or-nothing business.
Risk, that's the real drama on Broadway.
Why is Broadway such a risky business?
From the embattled king of Disney theatricals fighting to make a comeback.
And you can't know until it's on its feet if it's going to work.
Investment units can begin at $10,000.
To the small independent producer pushing to make millions.
But if we are 100% sold out for 16 weeks, I think you can double your money.
And the relentless team behind Broadway's most expensive show ever struggling to recover.
Toughest thing I've ever dealt with.
Now, most people would have just cut their losses.
I think we're somewhere between idiots and true believers.
You're about to meet Broadway's venture capitalists, out to survive and
Make a killing.
Make a killing.
This is Betting Big on Broadway. I'm Maria Bartiromo.
with danger, greed, and cliffhanging rescues. Broadway's Spider-Man is the ultimate high-wire act. It's also the biggest bet ever made on all of Broadway. Welcome to the $75 million musical, Spider-Man, Turn Off the Dark.
We're on the left or going up?
We are. We're headed up. Oh, this is your stage debut, Maria.
Jeremiah Harris and Michael Cole are Spider-Man's lead producers. And they're facing the ultimate challenge, turning the most expensive show ever made profitable.
With great power comes great responsibility is the tagline, and I think that people identify with that.
But the drama backstage sometimes stole the show. You canceled the production, what, 4 times?
Maybe 5 times. We had accidents, we had problems that we just couldn't anticipate.
Yeah, 4 actors have already been injured. One of them remains in the hospital this morning.
Refunding tickets over here!
Instead of show-stopping songs, there were show-stopping injuries, plus horrible reviews. This must have been a tough thing to swallow, the New York Times writing it. This is a national joke.
They called it vulgar before they'd ever seen it. Read a script, knew anything about it.
And major disagreements with the show's original key creator and director, Julie Taymor, which led to her departure and sparked a legal battle over royalties.
We weren't ready when we started our first preview. Technically, we had no ending. The scenery didn't work.
As you're talking, I'm thinking, well, the show spent $75 million, before a single ticket had been sold. Do you think Spider-Man was rushed in front of audiences so that producers could begin, earning money on that?
I think all of us knew, and we said we're not ready to preview, but I would never say I can't do it. That's not what I'm going to say.
I'm a $65 million circus tragedy.
But the mega spending on Spidey started in 2009. The theater required a major overhaul between the redesign, enormous hydraulic lifts, and the intricate system to make the show's characters appear to fly. It all racked up quite a bill.
We changed the rake of the audience so we could actually get, more seats.
And we needed them.
Yeah.
We needed, that's 1,600 tickets times, $100 every week. So
Right.
It's a huge difference.
After Taymor's departure, Cole and Harris shut down the production and raised another $15 million to fund a complete retooling of the show.
Most people would have just cut their losses. You decided to dig in, pay rent on the space, keep a whole staff on hold. Especially you spend more money on the most expensive musical ever. Why?
I think we're somewhere between idiots and true believers. And I'm not sure which one it was, and lucky.
Spider-Man reopened in June of 2011. And beyond what's already been invested, the show's weekly running costs are in the 7 figures.
There's the flying gear, the costumes, training actors, stand-ins. $1 million a week, is that right?
It's a bit low.
The big question, with $75 million invested so far and costs running over $1 million a week, will Broadway's mega bet ever pay off?
I hope my grandchildren are working at it long after we're gone.
The next iteration of this show might not be done in the proscenium theater because of the complexity of the show itself.
What's the alternative?
If it's to tour, it'll tour in arenas.
Whether the mega musical will ever tour is still unclear. For now, the focus is selling seats on Broadway. And through 2012, Spider-Man grossed an average of almost $1.5 million a week. Impressive, but it would have to average that much every week for more than 3 years just to break even. Later, the man behind Disney's billion-dollar moneymaker talks winning.
If you hit it big.
And losing.
So we lost, probably $15 million on that.
And next.
I kept saying this could be a very big hit.
He made a big gamble on the Phantom.
And it turned out to be something unbelievable, extraordinary.
Find out exactly how much when Betting Big on Broadway returns.
You can't make a living in Broadway, but you can make a killing.
And Jim Friedberg knows it because he made quite a killing.
I kept saying this could be a very big hit.
You've almost certainly heard of the show, but not Jim's big gamble. It was 1987, and seeing Phantom moved Jim, a former Wall Street trader, to consider a big investment in bringing London's Phantom to Broadway. But the timing wasn't great.
Black Monday, the worst day ever on Wall Street. The Dow Jones lost 508 points in one day.
With Wall Street crashing and investors on edge, Jim and his business partner invested $500,000 to help bring the $8 million musical Phantom to Broadway.
And then it turned out to be something unbelievable, extraordinary.
Extraordinary, all right. 25 years and still going with the payoff of a lifetime.
The return on this investment is a little under 1,300%.
Jim says their $500,000 investment earned $6.5 million. And 25 years later, the checks keep on coming. A lot has changed since Phantom, but every show is still a big gamble.
You're gonna love it.
And Jordan Roth ushers in a new generation of risk takers.
I don't know that I or anybody then knew how big it would become.
Jordan is a Broadway theater owner. His company, Jujamson, operates 5 theaters. He's single-handedly changing what you see on Broadway and how much you'll pay for it. Back in 2011, he saw a reading of a show called Book of Mormon, a crass musical that pokes fun of the Mormon religion. His decision to put it up in one of his theaters could have been a total disaster. Instead, it went on to outgross every show on the block.
How lucrative was it for your company?
It's a great show.
How great, he won't say, but we can give you a good idea. First, you need to understand how Jordan's theaters price tickets.
Some shows may change prices daily based on demand of a particular section.
Sort of like the airline business.
For us, the variables are where you are in the theater, what day of the week, what time of year.
It's called dynamic ticketing, and when applied to the wildly popular Book of Mormon, ticket prices went through the roof. A prime orchestra seat sold for a record-breaking $487.
I'm so thrilled to welcome you to your new home on Broadway, here at the St. James.
Here he is welcoming his newest pick.
And now this stage is yours.
Bring It On, a musical about cheerleaders. As the head of a company that grosses a reported $200 million a year, his success is measured in how long a show like this survives.
We never, ever want to be caught without a show or with a show closing very prematurely.
And the 37-year-old has much bigger, older, and more experienced competition. The Schubert and Niederlander companies that control the other 35 theaters.
There are more shows than theaters. That fact is why it is such a robust business.
The stakes are high for the theater owners, but even higher if you're the one in charge of raising the cash to bring a new show to Broadway. We followed the journey of the lead producer of a play called Grace to see if she and her investors could beat the odds.
They're going to wire us $9 million tomorrow morning from Zurich.
Grace is a dark comedy that follows a young, devout couple that moved from the Midwest to Florida to open a chain of gospel motels.
Debbie Bisno has a show to sell. Grace, starring movie actor Paul Rudd. The pitch?
Investment units can begin at $10,000, but
In just 16 weeks, investors could double their money. But she also offers this blunt warning.
don't do it if it's your last $25,000. I don't want that stress.
As the show's lead producer, Debbie has her own money and career on the line.
In this business, you only have so many chances, really.
Bizno's in charge of raising the money.
We need to raise between $2.25 million and $2.7 million.
Hiring the actors and production team, and above all else, ensuring that Grace turns a profit. With a director and actors signed on and a Broadway theater secured, Debbie's on the hunt for investors.
So I'm dialing for dollars. Can I get the list of Warhorse and Priscilla investors and merchant investors? If you don't have the rest of the money, you don't put up the show.
She's selling shares in the show, starting at $10,000. But each one of these calls is potentially worth a lot more than that.
Somebody else can come in with $500,000. All right, bye. Who else? Oh my gosh. Hey, good to see you.
While Debbie and her co-producers are still raising money, they're already spending on set construction.
The actual set and the living room of this condominium is rotating on a plane, and then the doors and the windows are tracking on their own track.
It's looking great, but the cost of loading it into the theater is over budget.
I hear it's going to be expensive. We anticipated running into extra costs, but we always hope that we don't, but we certainly did, and that's why you have a reserve.
Debbie says the overrun isn't a problem if the show sells.
Oh, it's my birthday!
Happy birthday.
They'll wait for autographs, but will they buy seats?
We had nice ticket sales, but nothing to say, oh, we're fine.
Later on, betting big on Broadway, find out if Debbie's Grace can turn a profit. But first, hanging on for dear life after flops like Tarzan and The Little Mermaid.
I got it wrong.
Can the man behind Disney's Lion King restore his pride?
I think there was a myth that Disney would keep anything running.
Night after night, the King of Broadway roars on as the most successful show ever, bringing in billions for Disney. But the business is much bigger than just Broadway. Welcome to Miami, where the lion is king of the road and the tour is gearing up to cash in. With hundreds of puppets and a robotic 8,500-pound Pride Rock, getting the road show up and running is literally tons of work.
We've 18 tractor trailers, 53 foot. You got to pull both these out at the same time, put the other ones in.
Michael Carey runs this production team. He's been traveling with the show since 2003.
People come on the show and they pretty much don't leave. We have everything for costume repair, for puppet repair. We call this the wardrobe bunker. You'll see that starting to get set up. Costumes will be unveiled, unpacked.
A total of 134 crew and cast members travel with the show, including 19 wardrobe staff and 10 electricians.
And then one person that's just dedicated to doing laundry. So there's an awful lot of dirty clothes.
Making sure this well-oiled machine moves quickly and efficiently means money. Over the past decade, the show has played 96 cities worldwide. And on the road, it has been seen by 55 million people.
We have 2 sets of scenery, so that allows us, while we're finishing up a run in one city, we're setting it up here.
So while the show's still running in Miami, the road crew will load the Lion King into another theater in Tennessee. Less time between productions means Disney can schedule more sold-out shows.
There were like 600 for 4 of us, and that's a lot for Miami.
It was amazing. I loved it.
If you hit it big. This is from Aladdin. There's more from Little Mermaid. That's a hat from Aida. There was just a big...
Meet the man behind Broadway's biggest moneymaker, the very animated Thomas Schumacher, head of Disney Theatricals.
This is a puppet from The Lion King.
For Schumacher, it all started with The Lion King. 15 years running, it has now surpassed Phantom, to become the highest-grossing Broadway show of all time. Average ticket price, $134 in 2012.
You've made a killing on The Lion King.
It would be fair to say,
much
I hate to say made a killing involving all those beautiful animals, but yes.
How much money has that production made?
Oh my gosh, there's a gross...
$5 billion?
There's a gross number that's pushing $5 billion. That's how much we've made. That's how much it grossed. But we've made a lot of dough on it.
Schumacher has a solid track record. 71% of his shows have turned a profit. Impressive in an industry where the success rate is around 20%.
So this is a tough business.
Yes, but if you hit it, it's almost more like venture capital. A lot of reasons, I think.
But he's also made some bad bets.
It's been a few years since lightning has struck.
You have two shows that don't work, and you think, are we getting it wrong? What are we doing wrong? This is worth looking at. This is a costume from The Little Mermaid. Somebody sat and stitched all... I mean, this is... I wish I hadn't spent so much since Little Mermaid didn't really work. You see, you never know.
The Little Mermaid survived less than 2 years, and it lost money. Disney declined to say how much. Another mistake, the 2006 musical Tarzan.
It didn't connect with audiences.
It didn't work. I got it wrong. I got it wrong. Because we were sold out, and then it just stopped. It just stopped. So we lost, you know, probably $15 million on that. I think there was a myth that Disney would keep anything running, that there was a pipeline of money coming in. But they're not. The shows live and die on their own merits. We don't cross-collateralize them. Lion King does not keep Mary Poppins running.
After Mermaid and Tarzan, some Broadway watchers wondered aloud, was Schumacher barely hanging on to his job? And the surprising bet he made in 2012 raised eyebrows. He was banking on a 2 decades-old film called Newsies, about the New York City newsboy strike in 1899. Not a particularly Disney storyline. And as a movie, it bombed.
So although the movie didn't work, on video, this story of young people taking charge of their life, making a difference, resonated. And then they all started posting things on YouTube about it. It's a show that was literally called to the theater by 25 to 35-year-olds.
Going viral is one thing. Sustaining the momentum long enough to turn a profit is another.
In the first 3 weeks of Newsies, we outgrossed the film.
Sounds impressive, but remember the movie was a dud. And on Broadway, success is measured in years, not weeks.
One rises and one falls by the audience.
But when the show scored 8 Tony nominations, suddenly the chances of his bet paying off increased dramatically. If Newsies could take home the Best Musical Award, it would practically guarantee a surge at the box office.
I do think it would make a difference for Newsies. I think it would make a difference to its run. I don't know how much.
So on Tony night, hopes are pinned on one very valuable moment.
And the Tony Award goes to... Once.
It's a major disappointment for Schumacher. A competing show steals the award and the box office windfall that comes with it. But Schumacher's story doesn't end there. Newsies' relatively small budget and solid ticket sales turned the show profitable faster than any other Disney production to date. So he's once again beat the odds on Broadway and set the stage for yet another potentially lucrative national tour.
What needs to happen to ensure financial success?
You cannot buy an audience. And the #1 way to market a show is still word of mouth.
Right. So how do you get that word of mouth going?
Prayer.
Next, Grace's producer says her prayers.
Not to get too serious here, but just take a moment to say grace.
As critics weigh in and the play meets its financial fate.
Sort of like swim at your own risk.
Will this investment sink or swim? Find out when Betting Big on Broadway returns.
If you can gather enough investors.
After months of working the phones to raise money from investors,
welcome everybody.
Debbie Bisno, Grace's lead producer, is just weeks away from her show facing the harsh eyes of critics. This is a meet and greet.
Paul Rudd, playing Steve.
Where the entire team rallies at the kickoff for rehearsals.
At meet and greet, we have over our minimum capitalization.
That means the show has enough money to cover the actors' salaries and other expenses through opening night. Going forward, Debbie needs ticket revenue to pay the bills.
He loses everything. Revolving stage.
So she turns to the theater press to get the buzz going. The clock is ticking before critics see the show. But tensions run high at Grace's first preview performance.
That is the first time when you really have an objective, paying audience. The first night when I looked across the street and saw all of these fans waiting for autographs, it was such a terrific sign that people weren't walking off and going, "What's for dinner?" They were saying, "I gotta get his autograph."
But star power is no guarantee Debbie and her investors will recoup the over $2.5 million in startup costs.
We had nice ticket sales, but nothing to say, "Oh, we're fine."
To cover just the fixed running costs, Grace must gross more than $238,000 a week. To break even, it's projected it has to gross an average of more than $380,000 per week. The clock starts ticking on opening night. The reviews hit the web later in the evening, and everyone here knows they can make or break the show.
I feel like if the show is good, people will come and see it.
So is Grace good? Turns out the critics disagree. The New York Daily News says it idles, but the Associated Press, published in papers across the country, gushes, calling Grace deeply thoughtful. Ben Brantley of the New York Times gives it a mixed review. In its second, third, and fourth week after opening, Grace is on fire, grossing over $500,000 per week.
If we continue to do that, even if we stay where we are, we will recoup.
But in week 7, Superstorm Sandy hits New York. Much of the city is left without power, and Broadway ticket sales are crushed. Grace suffers but stays open for the full 16-week run, bringing in almost $6.5 million.
Debbie Bisno comes close, but in the end, Grace recoups about 90% of its investment, proving it's a risky business when you're betting big on Broadway.